Cattle Council Australia was established in 1979, and according to their homepage, they describe themselves as a peak producer organisation that represents Australia's beef producers. Their mission is to represent and progress the interests of Australian beef producers through consultation with and providing policy advice to key industry organisations and relevant federal government departments regarding issues of national and international importance. They also play an important role in overseeing how the grass-fed levy is invested in projects designed to increase on-farm productivity, profitability and sustainability. Sounds good. However, under the present management and financial arrangements, CCA finds it is hopelessly compromised. The CCA financial statements for 2018 are very illuminating. Their membership subscriptions come in at $373,945, or 16.8% of their total income. Commercial income of $123,615, which I suspect is money handed over from Animal Health Australia, making 5.51%. Operating grant funds was $539,063, or 24%, and I presume again this is also from Red Meat Advisory Council Reserve Fund. Sponsorship grants were $23,613, or 1.2%. Service agreement funds from MLA of approximately $1.2 million, or 52.3%, bringing CCA's total income to around $2.2 million. If you take the Meat and Livestock Australia and the Red Meat Advisory Industry funding contributions, and if Animal Health Australia gives another 5.5%, this means 82% of CCA's income actually comes directly or indirectly from compulsorily acquired levies. It is interesting to note that agricultural ministers have continually said that compulsorily acquired levies cannot be used for advocacy. I would argue that if CCA's financial statements have been correctly interpreted, then the precedent has been established for levy funds to be used to support the active political activities of a peak council. If so, a considerable headway into maintaining a well-funded agricultural peak council could be funded by judicial use of levies. Looking back at why CCA is hopelessly compromised, one could argue that it is impossible for CCA to represent producers when one of its main roles is to oversee the $60 million of producers' money rolling into the MLA. Imagine, for example, if somebody had the audacity to suggest that bookmakers should take over the racing industry in Australia. One would simply be laughed at. One could ask, what is different here, with people being compromised by self-interest? The way forward may be a plebiscite, where producers could have their say and speak with one voice on what they desire and need from a peak council, and how they could fund such a body. Much consultation would have to be entered into and carefully thought out and negotiated by producer representative bodies. The identification of levy-paying producers for the purpose of voting entitlements could come from several sources. Some ideas that could be put forward. Could funding for a plebiscite come from the service organisation MLA, as had occurred previously? Could funding for a peak council come from the $5 levy with an opt-out clause, where if somebody decided they didn't want to pay towards the peak council, they could opt out and the money would go back into the MLA as normal? If a vast number of producers voted for change, the minister of the day would have little choice but to admit the industry has spoken on what the vast majority desires. This whole plan would have to be carefully thought out, as there are many with self-interests that would see a functional peak council as an enormous threat. Strangely enough, after one of the many Senate inquiries over recent years, Cattle Council of Australia acknowledged there needed to be change, and yet to date are still to take any action of any consequence. If change does not come, producers will continue to do the paying and very little of the saying, while others will benefit from the current situation we have now.